There is no way that this keeps happening, as despite the Toronto Blue Jays signing Jeff Hoffman to a deal that had Jays fans fired up and amped up, more details, new details have dropped, revealing some intriguing information surrounding Jeff Hoffman, as more concerning reports circulated surrounding not only the Orioles backing out of a deal, but the Atlanta Braves as well. We're going to break down those reports as well as discuss new information that has come out that can put Jays fans at rest a little bit. Stay tuned for all that in this episode, folks. But before we get into it, a quick reminder, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. Your guys' support has been unbelievable. We're on the road now to 16,000 subscribers. So if you're enjoying the daily Jays content, make sure to smash that subscribe button. And again, thank you guys for your continued support. And it's going to be a crazy next few days with the Roki Sasaki situation, the signing being able to be opened up tomorrow. We're going to keep you up to date with all of it, so make sure to smash that subscribe button. But ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot to go over today, and the Jeff Hoffman situation, the signing's a few days old now, but more and more reports keep coming out. We had a report, of course, right after the signing about the Orioles backing out of a deal, and more reports have started to circulate surrounding the Atlanta Braves. And you can see this here. There's a few different things. We'll start with this. By letting Jordan Romano go and signing Jeff Hoffman to a lucrative 3-year deal, the Jays demonstrated they put a meaningful premium on the difference between the two high-leverage relievers. And we're going to dive into Hoffman and Romano, the difference, a little bit later. I want to focus on how this situation keeps getting crazier. So you can see this here today. So Bowman further reports, Jim Bowman further reports that the Braves offer to Hoffman was a 5-year deal valued between $48 and $48 million total. So about $15 million more guaranteed than he was with, or than he got with the Jays. The idea would have been for Hoffman to get an opportunity to pitch out of the rotation in the season's first few years before a potential move to the bullpen down the road. The lengthy nature of the pack suggests that part of the aim was to tamp down the AAV of the contract and thus reduce the luxury hit. So this was, I believe, a 5-year deal. So the Jays obviously gave him 3 years, 33. The Braves offered 5 years more money. Right-hander Jeff Hoffman, of course, signed with the Jays a 3-year deal worth $33 million. And shortly after that was announced, it was reported that the Orioles had agreed, in principle, to a 3-year deal worth $40 million, but backed out after flagging down a shoulder issue. So this is new news. So not only did the Orioles offer, 3 years, $33 million, the Braves had a deal in principle before the Orioles deal to sign into a 5-year, $48 million deal. For the sake of argument, we'll just say it was 48, in hopes and in full expectation to put him as a full-time starter, which would be a significantly less AAV, but more guaranteed money for a reliever, which for a reliever is huge. The guaranteed money, over 5 years, relievers change in and out. He ultimately took the deal with the Jays, but, for a reliever, right, getting 5 years, $48 million, not only is that huge, but they were obviously transitioning him to a starter, the Braves, whereas the Jays' plan was always to keep him as a reliever. Now, when you think about two teams backed out following the physical, at first and on the surface, this looks very concerning if you're the Toronto Blue Jays, because you're thinking, hey, last time this happened, Kirby Yates, he missed the whole year. However, you rewind, there's some other instances where things like this happen, and, it works out back in 2017. So you're thinking about a bunch of different things here. I wouldn't be too concerned if you're a Jays fan at this point. There's a few reasons for it. Physicals from Schneider are essentially risk assessments. Medical teams can draw different conclusions. The Blue Jays saw the imaging just like the others and were comfortable enough to pass the All-Star. And okay, so the Braves, and we're going to dive into Jim Bowden. I believe it was Jim Bowden came out and kind of gave some interesting insight surrounding the Toronto Blue Jays and what it means going forward for them. And how and what goes into the process of the Jays specifically signing this player. Because, again, on the surface level, they've done it a little bit. There's been a lot of different situations where, the Jays, you sign a guy, and then with Kirby Yates, obviously didn't work out. There's been situations where the Jays keep finishing second, third, fourth for all of these players, and then ultimately, they never get them. You finally get a great player in Jeff Hoffman, and guess what happens? You come out and you end up technically being the third, guy in the race here. But I wouldn't worry about it too much. And focusing on the stats a little bit, when you're comparing Jeff Hoffman to Jordan Romano over the past, 3 seasons, very similar. Jeff Hoffman has been the better pitcher, which is something that is a little bit, surprising, because not necessarily surprising, but everybody thought that, Jordan Romano was such a good reliever. He was absolutely a dominant closer in this league. But when you look at some of the reasons that specifically the Toronto Blue Jays went out and got, Jeff Hoffman, it's because they wanted more certainty. Now, the flip side of that is Jordan Romano was owed a lot of money, right? Or wasn't owed a lot of money. Was not owed a lot of money. Earned $7 million. That's how much he was owed. Jeff Hoffman is owed a lot more money. So when you compare the risk management there, the Jays turned down $7 million in exchange for a 3-year, $33 million deal with a guy who ultimately has equal level injury concerns. And the question mark is, will they be able to, will he be better than Jordan Romano? It's a notable development in a couple of fronts. For Jays fans, this will perhaps add to the level of concern that already developed out of the report about the deal with the O's. All teams have different thresholds for what is or is not a concern during a physical. And that's the biggest part here is that right there. It bears repeating that the Orioles didn't want to walk away from Hoffman completely. Per last week's reporting, Baltimore continued negotiating with Hoffman after nixing the deal. That suggests that whatever they found in his shoulder wasn't a deal breaker, but rather something that lowered the amount of money where they were willing to commit to him. It's unknown how much a shoulder issue knocked down their offer. So again, things seem to be fine. And according to Schneider in the Orioles case, they stayed engaged and made significant revised offers after, per a source. Other teams were also involved, and the Jays did the deal. So everything is good, I think. And again, there's been points in the season where the Jays fans have been let down so much that I'm automatically put up a shield saying, okay, they're third in this. Things aren't going to go well. You think about the Kirby Yates situation, but that's fine. Everything seems to be good here. Other teams were also involved, and the Blue Jays did the deal. So it wasn't just that, the Jays came in and was like, okay, we'll take damaged goods. That definitely was not the case. Yes, he didn't pass the physical for the Braves. That being said, the Braves are trying to, get him as a starter. So it's like a starter, obviously, in theory, would have a bit more, parameters for passing a physical. Now, you can also see this here. The Toronto Blue Jays took a big swing at lengthening their bullpen. They ultimately, they did it, and it worked out very well. And he passed the physical, according to a second source. So he definitely passed the physical. And this is interesting. So this was Robert Murray and the JD Bunkus. And this is long. Feel free to pause and read it. But this is the most recent report surrounding this situation. And ultimately, this should put Jays fans to rest. So Hoffman originally had a deal in place with the Braves, 5 years, 48. They ended up flagging his physical. I wouldn't call it a failed physical, but they had some concerns. You fast forward, he ended up going over the Orioles for 3 years at 40, and they also flagged his shoulder. That's when the Jays came in and ended up signing. Obviously skipped a little bit there. You can feel free to pause and read the whole thing. I'm just going to summarize it for you all. That's when the Jays came in and ended up signing Hoffman, and they did not have the same concerns as the other teams. The fact that the two teams who flagged his shoulder still wanted to sign him afterwards indicated to me that the injury is not that serious. I don't know what it is. It is not a long-term worry. I've heard people on Twitter worried it's a chronic thing. It is not a chronic issue. And that is the biggest thing here. It is not a chronic issue. And what that means, as you all know, is that this shouldn't be a concern going forward, at least long-term. Now, clearly, there was some sort of issue with Jeff Hoffman's, reportedly throwing shoulder. That is where the initial, report came, and we had some people come out and say that it was damage and all these different things, which is not the case, right? It's not damaged shoulder. However, there is a little bit of room to be concerned. If you're watching at this point, let me know down below, are you concerned about this deal? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm not super concerned about it. I think everything's going to work out fine. We've seen it go in positive waves with, with some other teams. We've also certainly seen it go negative ways with the Toronto Blue Jays with Kirby Yates. And you think back to many, many years ago, and, they made a signing in 2017 for Swang Hung Oh. I think I pronounced that right. Swang Hung Oh, one of those, let me know if I'm pronouncing that right or wrong in the comment section. And he was coming off some injury concerns. There was physical problems. They ended up, signing him nonetheless. They came out, they got him, and then they flipped him. And he ended up being a phenomenal pitcher. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with specifically, how this all works out. Let me know down below what your thoughts are, because it's happening again. Things are getting crazy, and we're going to keep you up to date with all the latest news. So make sure to smash that subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.